everybody. We're just going to get right back into this conversation. We're going to be talking about songs that empower us, our music taste, samples, craziest music memories, Mac Miller's music, in our experience, fighting the feeling, the idea of swimming in circles, the timelessness of music, originality, speaking to a deeper aspect of the human experience, the journey of growth with albums and artists, music as an alternate window into the self and others, and its ability to evoke connection, empathy, and understanding, and the importance of exploring music and other genres. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Next! Okay, a song that empowers you.
I feel like this kind of goes in the female rapper territory. The first song to empower me was Feeling Myself by Nicki Minaj and Beyonce. Like, I would drive to school blasting that song.
Right.
Or, like, Partition.
Yeah.
It's all Beyonce.
Dude, that's literally the same. Like, I said almost any Beyonce song. She's a Virgo.
Makes sense.
Right? Molly and I are both Virgos. And I literally wrote, I wonder if a lot of Virgos feel this way about her music.
Interesting.
Do you?
Of course I do. Like, I feel like I wasn't empowered in any aspect. Even, like, because I was obsessed with, like, One Direction, the 1975, and Ed Sheeran. Like, that, for women, I don't think that is empowering. I think that's just, like, oh my god, like, I'm, like, 14 and want a boyfriend, yeah. Whereas, like, I mean, okay, I'm taking the 1975 out of that category because I love the 1975.
Okay.
But
One Direction.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yes.
But, like, Beyonce really was, even, I mean, like, Shakira, too, with Hips Don't Lie and stuff. Like, those were the first, like, female artists that I really, like, grew to love. And
the only song that I actually said for that was Boys and Girls by Jaden.
I don't know that song.
Oh my god, no?
No.
From his new album. It's like, they say we're only boys and girls. I say we can change the world.
Oh.
It really touches me hard.
I never got to that song. I liked, like, Lucy and Rainbow Bop and...
Yeah. That is a great album. But yeah, Boys and Girls, I think, at the time it came out and stuff, I think it's really great.
Wait, I want to say one more. Recent one. Girls in the Hood by Megan Thee Stallion is an amazing song, and Flo Milli is very much, like, I don't know. I always feel really good when I listen to Flo Milli.
Our last question, so I think maybe we'll do this thing that I wanted to do before we get there, was describing each other's music taste. Because, I mean, I think it's just interesting to, like, hear from what your friends... I only know what you listen to based off of what you share with me and what I experience with Molly in the context of listening to music.
That's so, yeah, you too.
Right. To me, your music taste is, I think you definitely lean towards rap and R&B. I don't even know, like, how to describe the side of rap that you're on. Because, like, No Name, to me, it's almost like indie rap, if that makes sense. Like, it's not mainstream, like, everyone knows about these rappers or hip-hop artists. It's kind of like the genre blending rappers, to me.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, like, the Sirs, the Blood Oranges, all of those. Plus, you can hang with the classic rock and stuff as well. Do you think I did a good job describing your music taste?
I think so. I'm also... Indie rap's a good way to put it.
Right.
I'm very into, like, samples and jazz.
Yeah.
And so like, a lot of the ways that I find music is through hip-hop. Is, like, I'll look up the sample. Yeah. Find that artist, go on a binge, and then, like, just kind of play around with other artists that sound like that. Basically just through Spotify. Right. But... yeah, recently I've gotten really into, like, the blues, which has been fun.
Interesting.
Yeah. Cool. I'm on a... It's funny because I don't think a lot of people could name my music taste. Like, I don't even think I could name my music taste. But, like, overall, overall, I'd say indie rap is probably the best way to put it.
And I think this is actually something I was thinking about today, and I think I'm sure it is probably the same for you, but for me, Molly and I know share this opinion that music taste says a hell of a lot about a person.
Yes.
And for me, I gravitate towards the diverse taste in music. Because for me, I just could never imagine listening to one genre.
Yeah, no.
Or, like, just popular music.
Yeah.
You do have a very diverse taste in music.
I think you do as well.
Thanks.
I feel like your music taste recently has been more of, like the Vampire Weekend vibe and very, like, not folky, but, like...
yes.
It's very... bandy, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at describing bands.
No, I get it. Yeah.
But it's very, like, just earthy and kind of, like, has a good energy and flow to it. But it's funny because I feel like when we are just growing up, like, we were so rap heavy, and now we've both kind of, like, flown into, like, different sub-areas of music, I guess. Or just,
different
like,
spaces.
Different spaces. And, like...
Totally.
It's cool because there's so much music out there
of
that,
course.
like, you're always going to explore. And,
yeah,
I think you're on, like, the indie train.
Yes. I definitely think that that's where I'm at right now. And Molly and I were just speaking about this the other day. I was catching up with a friend a few months ago, and we were talking about, because music was something that we shared, we were talking about music, and he was talking about, like, all the gas that he was listening to, and I just, like, couldn't relate.
The gas?
Yeah, he called it gas. Like,
just
the fire, like, rap. Yeah, all the rap that he was listening to, and I just, like, I couldn't relate, because, I mean, with COVID, where I am in my life, the music that I'm listening to right now, which is, like, a lot of classic rock, a lot of folk, band, indie, alt music, like, represents where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
It's so reflective of where you're at.
Absolutely.
But I think that diversity in taste is, you know, what speaks to me about people's music.
I agree. As somebody who listens to hip-hop and rap a lot, it's good to, like, take breaks from it and, like, explore other genres.
Yes. Last question. What was your craziest music memory?
It was seeing Tyler, the Creator, at Madison Square Garden for Igor. And it was for my birthday. My friend and I went. And we were on the ground.
Yes.
And I cried. Like, it was just he's a very special man in my life. So it's a very beautiful experience.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What was the energy like there? Because I know
crazy.
Tyler has, like, did he play, like, Yonkers?
He did. A$AP Rocky came out.
It was New York, so it makes sense.
It was insane.
My craziest music memory. I honestly thought that you were going to say when we sang on stage at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that was crazy.
We were 12. With Michael Franti. That was great. It's also a great segue. The other day I was like, honestly wonder if Molly told our Uber driver to put this on.
Oh my
and
God,
just let me believe this. Okay.
I did not, for the record.
Which is crazy. Okay, so the New Year's, going into 2020, Molly and I, we left a party. We were in an Uber. I fell asleep. And I woke up to Mac Miller playing. And you know when you wake up and then you go back to sleep? I'd woken up, a song from Swimming was playing. I went back to sleep, and then I woke up again, and The Spins was on. And that was when I literally turned to Molly. And I was like, did you ask him to put Mac Miller on? Because this was at a time when Mac Miller was playing a huge role in our music, like what we were listening to at the time. And it was just like one of those synchronicities that was just absolutely nuts. And the spins, because Kids wasn't on Spotify yet. Mm-hmm. So you had to go somewhere. You had to go to SoundCloud. You had to go to YouTube. You couldn't just listen to it. Mm-hmm. So that was when I literally came to and was like, who put this on? This is nuts that this is playing right now. Because, I mean, I don't come across as many people that share a genuine, connection with his music like that as we do.
Yeah.
So it was just crazy. And it was just, such a coincidence. It was crazy that, this was, the first thing happening in the new year.
Oh my God, yeah, that was mere hours into 2020.
Literally.
We did not know what
was
in store for us.
Which, brings us to the subject of Mac Miller. And Molly was saying to me before recording this, it wouldn't be a conversation about our growth and music and our experience and our soul without talking about Mac Miller.
Absolutely.
I've been listening to his music and since middle school, really, when because of my older brother. Mm-hmm. When Mac Miller and the Most Dope Family was on MTV and he was really on his come up. But then I really reconnected with him with swimming. Mm-hmm. But then when he passed away, that was enveloped in Mac Miller. It was all I could listen to. I had no interest in listening to anything else. Mm-hmm. And I dove so deeply into his music and his lyrics. And I think that it again represents when we're connected to something for a time in our life and what it gives to us. And I was actually just thinking about this recently. I'll let you speak on this because you brought this up. But, one of the things Molly and I were speaking about prior to recording this was how many people really connected with Mac's deep lyrics. Mm-hmm. Besides that sadness that's in his music and that hope that's in his music, he just talks about deep ideas. I mean, that whole, watching movies,
that whole album
Live from Space, The Star Room, I'm Not Real.
I love Thoughts from a Balcony.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Really deep stuff. Really interesting. Aquarium. Mm-hmm. Objects in the Mirror.
Not the first round of depression, but definitely the darkest
right.
in my life.
Right.
And I think that I grasped onto him because I was he understands. And I even one of my favorite songs by him is Fight the Feeling. And that song is talking about you can't shake this, you can't let it go. And there's always kind of this murky, weird, dark
right.
feeling.
Right.
But also, that's on Macadelic, and there's also the song Sunlight on Macadelic. And that's, him talking about that light at the end of the tunnel and
right.
still being able to find the joy and happiness out
right.
of everyday life.
Right.
Even though those kind of, dark spells hit you. He...
Exactly.
No matter what, was always able to come out of that.
Right. Hearing you talk, for me, I think, and a lot of, what he talks about with, struggling with your demons and, fight the feeling, right? My moving beyond and coming back really had to do with, integrating that, shadow aspect of self and those demons and just, accepting. This tendency to be depressed exists in me. So I need to nurture the light. I need to feed what feeds me to stay positive because it's so easy for me to come down.
Exactly.
And it's so easy for me to be swept away by the negative and the dark and the demons. hearing you talk about all that, it just makes me think of purity again.
Mm-hmm.
To me, purity is integrating that feeling that you can't fight, integrating those demons, and just accepting.
Exactly.
And then figuring out, okay, from here, where do I go? How do I stop? There's a great saying that your tongue always touches the space in your mouth that hurts. Your tongue will always go back to what hurts. So how can I stop touching what's hurting me and start grasping for what's going to make me feel better?
Absolutely. Well, it is, at the end of the day, like the word that came to my head when you were talking about that is control. And that is, I think, with purity, like purity is kind of your starting point. Like you have to realize, like, in one way, purity is something to find and search for, but more than that, it is your authentic being, and it is reminding yourself, like, I am a pure person. Like, no matter what thoughts I'm having, no matter what feeling I cannot fight, I am still here. I am still breathing. I am still growing. Like, these thoughts can be controlled. And that was probably the hardest thing that I learned, but is the best thing I learned. Like, in my search for just, like, light at the end of the tunnel from my depression was literally just understanding that we are not our thoughts. Like, our thoughts are ideas. The best way, actually, that, or, like, one of the best ways that it was described to me was through David Lynch. I think David Lynch. He was on the podcast, Don't Keep Your Day Job. And he was talking about how this person had told him, like, ideas in your head, it's like fishing. Like, you have to catch these ideas. And, like the chef, what the chef does is, like, turns that idea into, or that fish into a beautiful meal and, like, a very delicious meal. But, like, at the end of the day, like, that idea, it's like you're catching it. Like, that's not your thoughts, no matter what you think. Like, that's not you. You have to find a way to, like, either grab it, catch the fish, or let it go. And so
I love that.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And he was talking about it in regards to movie making and, like, just how he, as an artist and a filmmaker, like, grapples, like, with, like, how he comes with ideas, and he does a lot of meditation in that regard. And, like, that's how a lot of his movies have come to be.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, but if you think about that in regards to depression and mental health and healing, it's like, okay, if I catch all the fish that are, like, shitty fish, like, I don't want to eat the shitty fish. I don't want to, like, create a meal out of the negative, the terrible fish. I want to catch the good fish. And, like, when you're depressed, catching the good fish is probably a lot harder to do because there's less of the good fish. But you also have to learn to cultivate the fish go and cultivate the good fish. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's a great analogy.
And that, like, helped me a lot when I learned about it. The one other thing with Mac is that if we think about the album Swimming and how he had planned for Circles to come right after it and how like swimming, the whole concept is that he wasn't drowning, he was swimming. And, like, that was, think about it, we're talking about the ocean and the fish, like, he was, like, finding a way to cope and to grow and keep going on. But then Circles comes, it's like swimming in circles. And I think if we look at it objectively as art, the whole purpose of that is, like, yes, you're in a pattern, yes, you're in this loophole of, like, you're swimming in circles that you can't necessarily get out from. But at least you're swimming.
This is also true. I've thought about this recently, too, because, I mean, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about swimming. And I think, you know, like you said, at least you're swimming. And I think that in rereading my journals, I read an analogy I had written down, like, life it with the analogy of a sailboat, but I'll switch it to swimming.
Uh-huh.
Like, sometimes you're floating and it's that easy. Like, you can just float and life is good. You're coasting. Other times you're, like, swimming against the current for your life.
Yeah.
And that's just life. Life is swimming. That's it. If you stop swimming, you drown.
Exactly.
But my thing with swimming in circles, and this is just something I've been pondering on his album concept. Eternal return. If you think about an image, like you close your eyes and you imagine swimming in circles, you're not moving anywhere, right? And to me, that was perhaps, as a listener, that seemed to be what he was expressing, is not getting anywhere, not getting out of those patterns, that circle. In my own experience, having been in that feeling when I felt like I was swimming in circles and could never get out of the circle I was swimming in, I have found that I have been able, perhaps it's still you're swimming in circles, but I think when you're putting in the type of nurturing that you need to give yourself, it's a spiral upwards.
Yeah.
When I think about it, that's the image that comes to my head in my own experience with this concept of swimming in circles. Because you never want to be trapped.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to be trapped, and I don't think you are doomed to swim in the same circle your whole life.
No.
In the podcast episode from last week, I talked about if you don't like the page of the story you're on, you can change it. You can even change the whole book you're reading. That's all up to you.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter the opinions of anyone else in your life. If you want to read a whole new book and no one else is reading that book, well, that's your own choice. And you have the power to make that choice. I think I just reached a point in my life when I didn't want to swim in the same circle anymore.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be doomed to that circle.
Absolutely.
I also think, again, it's art. It's so much about what you ascribe your meaning to it.
Him as an artist, compared to many other artists, like, people have such an intense connection, to the point where he is still a huge part of popular culture. But I think that's because, even if you think about the concept swimming in circles, it's like, of course we all have points in our life where we are swimming in circles.
Yeah.
Most people
100%
are not just floating through life. Like,
exactly.
most people are swimming and just trying to figure it out. And even in Blue World, he's saying, like, don't trip, we don't have to let them in. And I think the reason people migrate towards his music so much is because he is somebody who not only embodies that experience, but talks about it in a way where he has, like, made light of the situation. He touches on probably the most human experience of just, like, this shit sucks. Like, it can be hard to be positive, but, like, you have to be. Like, you have to see that light at the end of the tunnel.
I think that on, the subject of him as an artist, his ideas are timeless. Like, this idea of eternal return and swimming in circles, and that's just timeless.
Yeah.
A timeless part of the human experience.
Even, like, self-care.
Yeah.
Like, songs like Come Back to Earth and his, like, Macadelic to me is one of my... Actually, I think Good I Am speaks to me a bit more than Macadelic, but, like, I think Macadelic is really where he was in uncharted territory of his own mind and, like, grappling with that. And you hear it sonically, you hear it lyrically. But at the end of the day, like, he was just a young 20-something.
He was 26.
Yeah. He was just...
We're almost 26.
Exactly.
Right.
He was just figuring it out, and what his art was talking about that.
Yep. That's the whole thing to me when an artist is an actual artist and not just like a pop music money making machine. Like they are saying something with their soul, and that's what people connect to.
Absolutely.
To me, good music is timeless.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, even if it's, classical music, there's no lyrics, it's just sounds. That's timeless. And I think especially once you add lyrics, that makes it even more difficult to make your art timeless because you're saying more.
Yeah.
But, I think there's such a difference between fun music, the bangers, the bops, and music that touches an aspect of your soul and the human experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very like 21st century problem and like debacle that we have is the fact that one, so much music sounds the same now, but two, it's so mass produced,
right,
that it leaves a lot of that purity and like authenticity out of it.
There's no creativity, there's no originality.
Exactly. And like albums, like off the top of my head, like albums that stick out to me as timeless that were made in the 21st century are like Control by SZA or like Flower Boy, Tyler, like all of Mac's albums, like very young artists who have, and the thing about all of those artists, it's all about growth to them. Like they have transformed and like evolved into these amazing artists, and it's because like they, and this is what all artists do, is they touch from their experience and make it so human and so universal that everybody who listens is like, I feel this exact way.
Absolutely, what you're talking about, like Kid Cudi, Kendrick, J. Cole. I mean, again, we're all in one space here.
Yeah.
But those, Frank Ocean.
Yeah.
All of those artists are drawing from a deeper experience.
Yeah.
Not just the material, not just materialism. At the end of the day, it's like whatever gets you there. You know what I mean? Whether it's J. Cole for someone or Billy Joel for another person.
Yeah.
It's whatever you connect with that takes you on a journey of growth with them, with their music. I think that's the gift of good music, is that journey of growth.
That's like literally Control and Flower Boy to me. Like those two albums, I felt like I grew with them and I learned more about myself in listening to albums like that. And it's so interesting because like SZA, Control is about like it's her mom. It's like samples of her mom's calls to her being like, if I lost control and if I did not have control, things would be fatal. And like thinking about that and like as a woman, how we view ourselves in love and what we give up to for whoever you love. Like there is an aspect of being a woman that like we have been taught by society to subdue and just like submit. Hearing SZA express going through that and like what, like her insecurities, like how she lost control in her life, how she found control again, what role her mom played in that process, and like
using music and albums to identify parts of yourself that you otherwise hadn't identified or put a name to or a thought to or an idea to. I think that's another marker of why music is such a timeless, essential aspect of our human experience.
Yeah.
Especially, I think, as we evolve and as life gets seemingly more complex as a society and as an individual, that ability, it's almost like albums come into our lives as teachers when they're those special albums, and they help us navigate what's either going on in our lives or realize things about our past, our upbringing, our feelings that we otherwise hadn't taken the time or hadn't known how to even name and express, and through an album maybe even work through.
Absolutely. That was like the song on Flower Boy, Boredom.
Yeah.
He's just talking about being bored, but like finding the time in your life to be bored. And like the lyrics, like, boredom's got a new best friend, because it's just like enjoying time with yourself and being creative and like not having anything to do, so you might as well do something with that time. And like that for me in that 2018 summer was like animating and being bored and drawing and creating shit. And so it's like, and then for somebody else who knows what that song meant to them, like I don't know, it's very cool.
It's so cool. I think it's so cool the way that, again, like, as an art, it can inspire our own actions and guide our own actions.
And help us grow.
100%. And obviously, I think, the other thing, beyond ourselves and our own experience, it helps us connect with each other.
Yeah.
Like, as friends, sharing music, that exchange of, here's some songs that I know will make you happy and want to dance. Here's some songs that I know will speak to you as your friend. That is such a gift. And it's such a gift, too, when you share music with your friends and the people that are close to you. I love to listen to the music people play around me as an expression of themselves.
Yeah.
Molly's listening to this song, so what is this telling me about Molly? I think that's, maybe not everyone listens to music that way, but how can you not?
Yeah.
Because that's part of the connection on an individual level with music.
And it's so cool, too, like, hearing what other people are listening to. And
it's a window.
It is a window into the soul. And it's like, we're always learning from each other. And my favorite thing is when people show me music that I haven't heard. Because I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. And part of the reason I usually think it's amazing is because my friend showed it to me. And I will always associate that friend with that song. Or even like that moment when like that song came on and I was with my friend and we were like, oh my God, like this is so good.
Yes.
Like every song that I love is most likely either connected to a person, a moment in time, or like a feeling.
Beyond connecting with friends, helps us connect with people and other people's experiences that we would never have otherwise understood. One thing that comes to my mind is I remember when I was going through the end of my abusive relationship in high school, and my friend showed me Losing Control by Russ.
I don't know that song.
The story the song tells, the way that she could, my friend could connect to my experience through that song was an incredible gift. And I think that that's so powerful. And again, beyond friends, it's like you can connect to someone's experience that you never in your whole life, your whole culture would have understood or experienced. But now because of music, you feel it, you empathize with it, you connect with it, you understand it in a whole different way. I think that's such a gift to humanity.
That's like the Lauryn Hill song, I Gotta Find Peace of Mind.
Mm-hmm.
That this past summer I was with 2 of my friends and I played it for them, and it's a 9-minute song, so we just sat there.
Yeah.
And I was crying.
Right.
I was like closing my eyes. I was not even looking at them.
Right.
And I, like, at the end, they were like, oh my God. Like,
right. For them to understand you through that song.
Yeah. And they were just like, that is so beautiful. And I think that they were just in shock by, like, how I reacted to the song, a song that I had heard a million times. And I was like, you have to listen to this song. I think that they were also like, this girl is going through it. Our friend is going through it. Mm-hmm. But in like they're like, thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course.
And like, they loved the song. And you're right that it's windows into experiences and souls that you're around all the time. And you might not know what is going on.
Exactly. Incredible. There's so much depth to music. I feel like everyone has a personal relationship with music. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many people just stay on the surface with it. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of people do.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I know so many people who just, like, listen to whatever's on the radio, listen to what's popular, and that's it for them. But then, like, thinking about the girl from the book that I was talking about.
Yeah.
If you continue to listen to the same music over and over again, which some people do, is that the person you always want to be? Are you going to be that person always? No, you're not.
Right.
And so it also is like for those who feel music is a deeper part of their human experience, like, I think that's an important thing to realize is you are going to evolve. There's probably something there that is, like, keeping you in that past moment and not allowing you to explore and discover new sounds that might embody who you're supposed to be.
Right.
You don't want to be stuck in the same patterns.
Right.
It's interesting.
I mean, songs are a journey. Albums are a journey. Your taste in music is a journey that reflects the greater journey of life that you're on. Art in general, and that's why I am doing this series with the podcast, talking about different aspects of art and their role in our growth and our human experience. Music is just one of those vehicles to accompany you along the journey.
Yeah. Be there for you. Support you.
Push you to new boundaries and new ideas.
So even if you, like, listen to the same, like, one genre, I think it's important, like, to look out for other ones too, and
totally explore.
Yeah, learn what you like, learn what you don't. It's like food. Like, it's like being a baby and, like, trying a bunch of different foods. Like, the cool thing about music is there's an infinite amount of music out there. There's not a human way to listen to all the music in the world.
Literally.
So just. And it's representative of, like, a bigger message of don't limit yourself. Like, always keep looking, always keep listening.
In the past,
exactly. Especially in the past. I think it's cool because music, the past, is always reflected in the future. That's what sampling is. It's like repurposing art. And so you have to look into the past because there's so much beauty in the past, but how are you going to make that into your future?
Repurpose it. I love that. I think there are artists that absolutely don't pay tribute to the past. The majority of the artists we all listen to obviously have influences from their past. Even exploring those will lead you to new landscapes.
Absolutely.
Like you were talking about with samples. It's the same thing. I hope that everyone enjoyed this conversation as much as I had having it.
Same.
Thank you for listening, and thank you to Molly for having this conversation with me and taking me on this trip. You can now sign up for the Reself beta test. I will link that survey and more information about the beta test in the show notes. It's a great opportunity. Make sure to follow Reself on Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, whatever floats your boat. Again, the playlists Molly and I created with the songs that we referenced throughout part 1 and part 2 of this conversation are down below, as well as the January 2021 Reself playlist. Check those out. Enjoy them. I just want to end on a reflection on something that Kid Cudi talked about in his interview with Zane Lowe, talking about Man on the Moon 3, which was that he felt like if all the Men on the Moon albums had been trying to figure it out, Man on the Moon 3 was accepting not knowing. And I think that is a great notion to end on. We're never going to have it all figured out. And when we accept that, that's really when we can enjoy and be present and release some of that anxiety. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't try to be better, do better, to grow, expand, learn. You can check out that interview. That'll be linked in the description as well as all of our references throughout part 1 and part 2 of this conversation. Do with that what you will. Enjoy. I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.